I have not really spoken about this before. I felt empty. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chai with Chhavi. Today, I do have my cup of chai. Do you see that? Piping hot, freshly made, filled to the top. Let me just do a little taste test. I'm going to talk to you today about a book that I've been reading. So I recently started reading The Power of Now. Now I've had this book for ages. I've probably had this for years, but for some reason I just never got around to reading it. And lately I've been working on establishing a reading habit. I have time carved out in my day in the morning to read, even if it's for 5 minutes, just to hold the book and read. And usually if I get into the mindset of like, okay, like every single day I'm gonna read 1 page of a certain book, you always end up reading more than that. So I'll say that I'll read 1 page, but then I always end up reading like for 5-10 minutes and I end up hitting my goal. So really great way to form a habit, by the way. Just get yourself there, like whether it's you wanting to work out and not being able to, just find a way to put like your foot into the gym. And chances are, if you step into a gym, you're not just gonna wanna walk back out, you'll actually stick around to do the workout. But I digress. So anyway, I've been getting into this habit of reading a book physically every single morning, and The Power of Now is the one that I'm currently reading. And there are so many amazing things this book talks about. I feel like I'm having a change in perspective when it comes to dealing with certain situations and how I deal with the world. So for example, the book essentially talks about the importance of living in the present moment, because the present moment is truly all that we have. Many times people end up getting caught in their thoughts, in like all this noise in their head, because they are not living in the present. They're allowing their thoughts to define how they think and feel about themselves and how they, where their self-worth comes from. They're attaching that to their thoughts, or they're spending time living in the past and in the future. So what does that look like, right? For example, when you spend a lot of time living in the past, thinking over and over again about bad things that have happened to you, any resentment you felt, guilt, when you tie your feelings to those moments in the past, that becomes grounds for depression. You feel really bad about those things. When you start to think about the future and all the things that you need that could happen, or like you need to do, or you live for some point in the future, essentially, that can cause anxiety. That can cause you to live in a state of anxiety, or it can just cause you to forget the present moment and forget being happy in the present moment and tie your happiness to a point in the future. And then you're just never fulfilled because you're always going to be searching for happiness at some point in the future. I am a very goal-oriented person. So for me, fulfillment in the past would come from achieving a goal, setting a goal, crushing it, setting a goal, crushing it. And while I still believe that setting goals is important and I love doing it because it gives me excitement, motivation, it becomes very harmful when you start to tie your self-worth to the achievement of a goal. Meaning, when you achieve the goal, you feel great about yourself, your confidence goes up, but if you don't achieve it, that impacts how you feel about yourself. So there are 2 times in particular in my life where that's happened. Hold on, let me take a quick sip of my chai. I didn't really think through how I'm gonna drink my chai hot and talk at the same time. When I was in high school, I felt that the only way for me to prove something, I don't even know what I wanted to prove, but the only way for me to prove something would be by getting into an Ivy League school. Like, that was my goal. My goal was to get into an Ivy League school because I felt like that would somehow show, like it would be a reward for all the hard work that I had done in high school, all the hard work I put into my schoolwork, my studies, my extracurriculars. Guys, I literally drove myself insane my junior year of high school doing things that would look good on my college app. I have no shame in saying this now, but I really did. Like, I joined a bunch of different clubs. I took all the AP classes because I didn't want to do anything less than, and tried to get as many college credits as I could. Of course, the SAT prep, this and that, all this stuff. And it got to a point where there was just way too much on my plate and way more than I could realistically handle. I would get like, I believe like 4 hours of sleep a night every single day. And it got to a point literally when I would just come home and start crying because it was getting so overwhelming that I could not keep up with everything. But I felt like I had to go through that in order to have a good application, to be able to get into an Ivy League, and to just, you know, show something for all my efforts in school. That was my mindset. So long story short, I ended up not getting into my Ivy League school of choice, and it had a really big impact on my self-esteem. In the moment, I would spend every single day just crying, being like, where did I go wrong? Why was I not good enough to get into this school? What could I have done better? Am I not smart enough? And I started to question myself and my self-worth because of this one instance. I'll give you another example. When I won Miss New Jersey USA, I set the goal of becoming Miss USA. I wanted to be Miss USA. I wanted to be the first Indian American Miss USA. And more importantly than that, I just felt like the women in my family in particular were not given the opportunities that I have. Their lives looked very similar, right? They were expected to go to school for a few years when they were younger, but then they would get married quite young, like child brides, and then they would like start families and then just spend their lives raising their children and raising their family and just being at home. They just didn't have the opportunity to pursue their dreams. And when I won Miss New Jersey USA, I felt I felt this responsibility, I would say, that I needed to make the most of this opportunity. I needed to become Miss USA, to make these sacrifices of my parents coming to this country, to make the sacrifices of the women in my family who preceded me all worthwhile. And there was just that feeling that I needed to do this. I put my heart and soul into my preparation, and of course on the final night I got first runner-up, and while people were congratulating me, I felt very, very sad, because for me it was like I was just one away from this achievement. I have not really spoken about this before, but I would say the few months following that, I felt empty. Basically up until the beginning of 2019, I just felt very lost. I felt empty and I felt very purposeless, and I felt like I failed at something that I shouldn't have, because I tied my self-worth to the achievement of the goal. And while on the surface everything seemed like it was okay, I knew inside of me that it was not. The more you attach yourself to things that are outside of you, the more harmful it is for your inner peace and your inner well-being. So what this book says, which I wholeheartedly agree with, is all the happiness, all the fulfillment, everything you're looking for is inside of you already. And it's just a matter of connecting with that thing that is inside of you, that source of abundance that's inside of you. The more power you give to other people, things, circumstances, situations, etc., the more you are taking away your peace of mind. Your true essence is something so much deeper. These situations that you encounter in your life, they're like little chapters in your book of life, but they're not the book itself. So something that really helped me with my self-confidence was self-reflection, going inward and really learning about who I am as a person. Anything that you practice on a daily basis will become a habit, and eventually that habit will become a part of you and dictate where you're going. Self-confidence is a habit. It gets nurtured through everyday practices, and before you know it, you will just develop an extremely great relationship with yourself and feel like these external situations, circumstances, people do not hold that much power over you. Going off of this book, I would say the first thing that I do is find quiet, find stillness, and try to quiet my mind. Now, there are moments, of course, where my thoughts will go crazy and I'll have those anxious thoughts or those sad thoughts, and in those moments, just breathing through the emotions, breathing through the thoughts, breathing through the feelings, and realizing that my thoughts are not who I am. They're just kind of like background noise. And when you start observing the thoughts, you become a lot more present. Your level of confidence in yourself comes from the reputation that you have with yourself. When you know that you can count on yourself to do something and you have that accountability with yourself, you really are not impacted as much by other things outside of your control. Now, what does this look like? Because I thought this was extremely interesting. There's a really good book on this that I need to read. It's called The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. That is the next one that I'm going to read. When you can rely on yourself, you are not impacted as much by other situations and circumstances that are outside of you. I build that reputation with myself by having a solid morning routine. My morning routine and my habit of like doing it every single day is what helps build that and fuel that. That is it for today's chat. I will see you again next time. Thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Bye.